were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically, it becomes an unidentified flying object.
While Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil switched to the medical channel.
Moon landing hero Buzz Aldrin is 95, and he just shared a confession that space agencies were not prepared for. Buzz Aldrin has spent his life guarded by one of history's greatest achievements, but age has brought a new kind of honesty. In a recent interview, the 95-year-old astronaut opened up about strange sightings during the Apollo 11 mission, details he never fully discussed before. What he shared has sparked intense debate among researchers, skeptics, and believers who think the moon holds secrets humans were never meant to see. Follow along as we break down Buzz Aldrin's late-life revelation and what it could mean for the future of human exploration. Who is Buzz Aldrin? Before we explore the rumors and revelations, let's talk about the man himself. Buzz Aldrin stands as one of humanity's greatest explorers. Born on January 20th, 1930, in New Jersey, he made history on the 20th of July, 1969, when he became the second person to walk on the moon alongside Neil Armstrong. But his journey to that incredible moment started long before the Apollo mission. Aldrin earned his nickname from his sister, who couldn't pronounce the word brother properly and called him Buzzer instead. The name stuck, and in 1988, he legally changed his first name to Buzz. He graduated third in his class from the United States Military Academy at West Point with a degree in mechanical engineering. His military career included flying 66 combat missions during the Korean War, where he shot down 2 enemy aircraft and earned the Distinguished Flying Cross. What made Aldrin stand out among astronauts was his brilliant mind. He earned a doctorate from MIT, focusing on orbital mechanics and rendezvous techniques. His research became so important that NASA used his methods throughout the entire space program. Colleagues nicknamed him Dr. Rendezvous because of his expertise in spacecraft docking procedures. At 95 years old today, Buzz remains the oldest living astronaut and continues to advocate passionately for space exploration, particularly human missions to Mars. The Apollo 11 mission. The Apollo 11 mission represents one of humanity's crowning achievements. On July 16, 1969, 3 brave astronauts launched from Kennedy Space Center aboard a Saturn V rocket. Neil Armstrong commanded the mission, Michael Collins piloted the command module, and Buzz Aldrin served as lunar module pilot. Their destination was a place humans had only dreamed about for thousands of years. The journey to the moon took 3 days. During this time, the astronauts experienced sights no human had ever witnessed before. They watched Earth shrink to the size of a marble against the endless darkness of space. They floated in zero gravity and performed critical maneuvers to ensure their spacecraft stayed on course. Every moment brought new challenges and breathtaking views. On July 20, 1969, Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the lunar surface in the lunar module Eagle, while Collins orbited above. When Armstrong stepped onto the moon, he delivered his famous line about one small step for man. Minutes later, Aldrin joined him, describing the landscape as magnificent desolation. The 2 astronauts spent about 2.5 hours outside the spacecraft, collecting samples, taking photographs, and setting up scientific experiments. An estimated 600 million people watched this historic event on television, making it the largest audience in history at that time. The mysterious light. Now, we arrive at the moment that sparked decades of speculation. About 3 days into their journey to the moon, roughly 200,000 miles from Earth, something unusual caught Buzz Aldrin's attention. He noticed a strange light outside their spacecraft windows. This wasn't just any star or celestial object. The light appeared to be traveling alongside them, keeping pace with their vessel. Aldrin wasn't the only one who saw it. Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins also observed this mysterious object. 3 highly trained astronauts, all experienced pilots and engineers, were witnessing something they couldn't immediately identify. The object appeared bright against the darkness of space, and it seemed to maintain a consistent distance from their spacecraft. This strange encounter lasted long enough for all three men to discuss what they were seeing. In the technical sense of the term, what they saw qualified as an unidentified flying object. It was flying, it was an object, and initially they couldn't identify it. The crew had to make a decision. Should they report this to Mission Control and risk causing panic on Earth? Should they investigate further? Or should they continue with their mission and figure it out later? The weight of this decision hung heavy in the spacecraft as they hurtled toward the moon. What Aldrin actually said, here's where things get twisted by conspiracy theories and sensational headlines. Over the years, many websites and videos have claimed that Buzz Aldrin confirmed seeing an alien spacecraft on the moon. Some even suggest he said astronauts were told to leave the moon by extraterrestrials. These claims spread like wildfire across the internet, with doctored videos and misleading quotes going viral. The truth is far different from these sensational stories. Aldrin has repeatedly explained what he saw during the Apollo 11 mission. In a 2014 Reddit session, he addressed the UFO sighting directly. He acknowledged that he saw something outside the spacecraft window, but he was absolutely convinced it was sunlight reflecting off a panel from their own rocket. When they separated the lunar module from the main spacecraft, 4 panels detached and drifted nearby. Aldrin wrote that while the object was technically unidentified at first, it certainly wasn't an alien spacecraft. He emphasized this point clearly. It was not an alien. He explained that they decided the object was most likely one or more of those detached panels catching sunlight as they tumbled through space. The astronauts discussed various possibilities, ruling out the idea of another country following them, which Aldrin called ridiculous. The science behind the sighting. Understanding. What Aldrin saw requires some knowledge of spacecraft operations. When the Apollo crew extracted the lunar module from its storage position, the protective panels covering it needed to be jettisoned. These panels, made of reflective materials, would drift away from the spacecraft, but could remain in relatively close proximity for some time due to similar trajectories. In the vacuum of space, objects don't behave like they do on Earth. Without air resistance, a panel could tumble slowly, catching sunlight at different angles and creating what appears to be a moving light. The human eye, even a trained astronaut's eye, can struggle to judge distances and movements in the vastness of space where there are no reference points. What seems like an object following you might simply be something moving on a parallel path. Space agencies have documented many such sightings throughout the history of space exploration. Astronauts have reported seeing debris, ice crystals from their own spacecraft, and reflections that initially puzzled them. Once investigated, nearly all these mysterious objects turned out to have mundane explanations. The Apollo program generated significant amounts of jettisoned hardware, from rocket stages to protective panels, all of which became potential sources of mysterious sightings. Why the confusion persists. So if Aldrin explained what he saw decades ago, why do people still believe he confirmed alien encounters? The answer lies in how information spreads and gets distorted. In the mid-2000s, a television documentary included Aldrin discussing the UFO sighting. The program took his comments out of context, making it seem like he was describing an alien encounter rather than explaining a misidentified piece of space debris. Conspiracy theorists seized on these out-of-context clips. They edited videos to remove Aldrin's explanations and clarifications. Social media amplified these misleading clips, with each share stripping away more context. Before long, millions of people were watching videos that seemed to show Aldrin admitting to seeing aliens when he had actually been debunking that very idea. The situation worsened in 2018 when tabloids reported that Aldrin and other astronauts had passed lie detector tests about seeing UFOs. These reports referenced a questionable voice analysis study conducted by an organization whose methods many scientists question. The tabloids failed to mention that Aldrin's actual statements consistently described space debris, not aliens. The lie detector simply confirmed that Aldrin believed what he was saying, which nobody ever doubted. The problem extends beyond just 1 or 2 misleading articles. YouTube videos with millions of views continue to spread these false narratives, using dramatic music and ominous narration to make rocket debris sound like an alien invasion. Facebook posts and tweets perpetuate the myth, often shared by people who genuinely believe they're spreading important information. This creates a cycle where misinformation feeds on itself, growing stronger with each share and click. Breaking through this wall of confusion requires patience and repeated clarification from Aldrin himself. Other Apollo mission mysteries. The Apollo 11 sighting wasn't the only unusual report from moon missions. Throughout the Apollo program, astronauts reported various strange phenomena. During the Gemini 4 mission, pilot Jim McDivitt spotted what he described as a white cylindrical object with a pole sticking out. He photographed it, though experts later suggested it was likely debris from the Titan rocket that launched his spacecraft. Astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who walked on the moon during Apollo 14, became convinced that extraterrestrial life had visited Earth. However, he always clarified that his beliefs came from conversations with alleged sources after his space career, not from personal experiences during his mission. Mitchell's views placed him in the minority among astronauts. Most of his colleagues, including Aldrin, take a more skeptical approach to claims about alien visitations. The Apollo 8 crew read from the Book of Genesis on Christmas Eve, 1968, while orbiting the moon. Some conspiracy theorists later claimed that astronaut James Lovell's message about Santa Claus was code for UFO sightings. In reality, there's no evidence supporting these code word theories. NASA transcripts from all Apollo missions are publicly available, and they contain no hidden messages about alien encounters. Aldrin's views on extraterrestrial life. While Buzz Aldrin firmly denies seeing aliens during his space missions, he's not dismissive about the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. In fact, he's quite open-minded about it. During his Reddit session, Aldrin shared his thoughts on this fascinating topic. He stated that with billions of galaxies beyond our own Milky Way, the probability of life existing somewhere in space is almost certain. Aldrin approaches the question from a scientific perspective. He points out that life on Earth evolved gradually over billions of years through natural processes. Given the vast number of planets and moons throughout the universe, many with conditions potentially suitable for life, it would be statistically surprising if Earth were the only place where life developed. This view aligns with most modern scientists who study astrobiology. However, believing that life probably exists somewhere in the universe differs vastly from claiming to have encountered aliens. Aldrin makes this distinction clear. The enormous distances between stars make interstellar travel extremely challenging, even for advanced civilizations. While Aldrin remains hopeful that humanity might one day discover evidence of extraterrestrial life, perhaps on Mars or one of Jupiter's moons, he hasn't seen any such evidence himself. The viral lie detector story. The 2018 lie detector story deserves special attention because it confused so many people. The Daily Star, a British tabloid, published an article claiming that Buzz Aldrin and 3 other astronauts passed lie detector tests about seeing UFOs. The headline suggested this proved aliens exist. The story went viral immediately, shared millions of times across social media platforms. The reality was far less sensational. The lie detector wasn't a traditional polygraph test. Instead, an organization called the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology analyzed recordings of the astronauts' voices. This field of voice stress analysis remains controversial, with many scientists questioning its reliability. The FBI and police departments don't use this technology as claimed in the article. More importantly, the test simply indicated that the astronauts believed what they were saying. Nobody ever doubted that Aldrin saw something during Apollo 11. The question was always about what he saw, not whether he saw anything. A spokesperson for Aldrin called the entire story bogus. 2 of the astronauts mentioned in the article, Gordon Cooper and Edgar Mitchell, had already passed away when the story was published, making it impossible for them to have participated in any recent study. What makes this story particularly frustrating is how it exploits the legacy of deceased astronauts who couldn't defend themselves. Cooper and Mitchell weren't around to clarify that their old interview recordings were being misused for sensational headlines. The Institute of Bioacoustic Biology analyzed decades-old audio clips without the astronauts' permission or knowledge. This ethical problem gets overlooked when people share the story, focusing only on the exciting headline about lie detectors and UFOs rather than the sketchy methodology behind it. Moon landing deniers and misinformation. Buzz Aldrin has also dealt with conspiracy theorists who claim the moon landings were faked. These false claims frustrate the astronaut who risked his life for the mission. In 2002, conspiracy theorist Bart Sibrel confronted Aldrin outside a hotel, harassing him about the supposedly fake moon landing. After repeated requests for Sibrel to leave him alone, the then 72-year-old Aldrin punched the conspiracy theorist. The incident became famous on the internet. Many people supported Aldrin's reaction to the relentless harassment. The police declined to press charges, recognizing that Sibrel had been provoking the astronaut. For Aldrin, the moon landing represents one of humanity's greatest achievements, and seeing it dismissed as a hoax understandably upsets him greatly. Doctored video clips continue to circulate online, supposedly showing Aldrin admitting the moon landing was fake. In one heavily edited clip from a Conan O'Brien show appearance, Aldrin appears to say television viewers didn't actually watch the moon landing. The full context reveals he was making a joke about how he and Armstrong switched spacesuits as a prank. It was clearly a satirical comedy, but the edited version gets shared as if it's a genuine confession. Beyond the video manipulation, moon landing deniers ignore overwhelming physical evidence. The lunar samples brought back by Apollo missions have been studied by scientists worldwide for over 50 years. These rocks contain minerals and isotopes that could only form in the moon's unique environment. Retroreflectors placed on the lunar surface by astronauts still work today, allowing scientists to bounce laser beams off them to measure the distance between Earth and the moon. Even countries like China and India, whose modern lunar missions have photographed the Apollo landing sites, confirm that Americans walked on the moon. NASA's official position. NASA has consistently maintained that none of its missions have encountered evidence of extraterrestrial life or spacecraft. In 1970, Robert Allnutt, NASA's Assistant Administrator for Legislative Affairs, wrote that after 15 years of space missions, astronauts had brought back no evidence for the existence of UFOs or alien spacecraft. This position hasn't changed in the decades since. All data from Apollo missions exists in the public domain. Scientists worldwide can review photographs, video footage, audio recordings, and geological samples from the moon. None of this evidence supports claims about alien encounters. The lunar samples, consisting of rocks and dust, contain no biological material or anything suggesting past life. The moon appears to be exactly what geologists expected: a dead, airless world. NASA takes the search for life seriously, but focuses on scientific methods rather than conspiracy theories. Current missions explore Mars, searching for signs of ancient microbial life. Scientists study Jupiter's moon, Europa, and Saturn's moon, Enceladus, which have underground oceans that might harbor life. In 2022, NASA even assembled a team to study unexplained aerial phenomena scientifically. However, studying unexplained phenomena differs greatly from endorsing claims about alien visitations. The space agency maintains rigorous documentation standards for every mission. Astronauts undergo debriefings after flights where they report everything unusual they observed. These reports get archived and made available to researchers. If credible evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology appeared during any mission, NASA would have a massive incentive to announce it. Such a discovery would secure unlimited funding and public support for decades. The idea that NASA would suppress the most important scientific discovery in human history makes little sense when examined logically. What we can learn. The Buzz Aldrin UFO story teaches us valuable lessons about critical thinking and media literacy. First, context matters enormously. A quote pulled from a longer conversation can mean something completely different than the speaker intended. Aldrin explained his UFO sighting thoroughly, but edited clips removed all his clarifications and turned his story into something unrecognizable. Second, we should consider the source of information. Tabloids and conspiracy websites profit from sensational stories, even when those stories misrepresent the truth. Reputable science journalism and official NASA sources provide more reliable information. When astronauts make public statements, we should check their actual words rather than relying on second-hand interpretations. Third, the Buzz Aldrin story reminds us that mysterious doesn't mean alien. Space exploration involves countless opportunities for misidentification. Reflective panels, ice crystals, distant satellites, and orbital debris can all create puzzling sights. The fact that trained astronauts sometimes need time to identify what they're seeing doesn't mean they've encountered extraterrestrials. It simply means space is vast, dark, and filled with human-made objects alongside natural phenomena. Buzz Aldrin hasn't revealed any hidden truth about aliens on the moon. Instead, he has spent decades clarifying that the strange sight he observed during Apollo 11 was sunlight reflecting off detached spacecraft panels. While he remains open to the idea of life elsewhere in the universe, he has consistently stated that he never encountered aliens during the mission. The real story of Apollo 11 needs no embellishment. 3 astronauts traveled 250,000 miles through space, landed on another world, and returned safely to Earth, marking one of humanity's greatest achievements. What do you think about all these moon mysteries? Do you believe we're alone in the universe, or is life out there waiting to be discovered? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating space content.